From the Chinese proverb, may you live in interesting times. The notion holds true no matter the application or the current year. Absolutely, we live in interesting times. But how does our era differ from the novelty of the nearest and dearest century, the 20th? Amid world wars, political insanity, and death tolls that would excite a con, our time, one could argue, is a complicated revision of the same trials and tribulations that echo from the prior century, decorated with varying degrees of chauvinism and banal theatrics at the expense of future certainties. This is the most interesting time in human history. Why? Because of this.
Not one, but two mass shootings in less than 24 hours.
Our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy, not the gun.
8 people were shot in 5 separate incidents overnight.
A national epidemic.
There will be no negotiations on any issue with the U.S. We will not surrender.
Putin is on America's doorstep with nuclear-capable bombers right out of the Cold War.
How the risk of nuclear attacks somewhere in the world has actually increased.
Russia shall reserve the right to use nuclear weapons in the event of aggression.
And trade war with China. Trump's threatened tariffs could cause recession in 9 months if implemented.
Tariffs to Chinese goods, manipulating their currency.
Rising levels of corporate debt.
As we stray further into a society that Orwell, the Ringling Brothers, and Charles Manson would guffaw at, nuance and reasonable arguments are at the forefront of maintaining this precarious thing we call Western society, is outweighed by the importance of interesting things and the public's dying attention span. The flavor of history past is plain to our instant gratification and hyperbolic tastes. Contemporaneous eyes feast on screens of sugary, spicy goodness and excess. Excess information, excess stimulation, excess facts, excess lies, excess of excess. And once you've tasted excess, everything else tastes bland. Bland, bland, bland. Sometimes I fear that what we're presented with daily, the barrage of happenings and opinions that follow, is bland to us, increasingly so. Our awareness, at least the awareness of those with access to the gagglefuck that is gladiatorial Twitter or any other social media platform that displays news, has made it difficult to interpret the news and insights and lies we swallow on a daily basis without the consistent spin or reactionary allegiance of fault dishing and name-calling. Even when the alarm sounds in a particular fashion, simply scroll downward to flex your hedonic half-life and take another hit of WTF, LOL, and memery.
Oh, another mass shooting. That's crazy. And look, that Bella thought made millions from her Etsy pubes.
Did you see that Google sold its spy technology to North Korea with the aid of those genial fellows at the U.S. Department of State? Oh man, a new fight comp on WorldStar just dropped.
I could go on, but I like you, dear viewer, and I assure you I am not a hateful twat. After the DNC debates, identity politics and egoic anecdotes festered the dialogue in 2-minute sound bites, as expected. Candidates argued the same tired displays of progressive agendas, corporate-cloaked revitalizations of presidencies past, and berated each other in predictable fashion. And then you had Yang over in the corner like, I'll give you $1,000 a month. The routine shtick that flew from the mouths of these improbably presidential actors was whatever this tart, drained flavor of social justice is. You know the flavor. Strange and bubbly, yet so righteous in its bitter notes that could only be produced by the finest plantations of our terrible past. A flavor that audiences could identify readily and possibly substitute for tonic in their vodka as they watch the damn circus show.
Is it social justice?
Social justice is a controversial pin in the crowded soup pocket of America's trillion-dollar attire. A lapel on the middle-aged, mixed-raced, post-taste, congressionally vain, menopausal, psychotically thespianic, depraved in the slightest of ways, blanched of all its meat, and, honestly, a wonder. America.
America.
It's an uncomfortable tactic, social justice, designed to enact Still haven't written it. Whatever. What the fuck. It's a stain. It's also a noble, righteous endeavor. It's both. It's a part of our history. It's a part of our future. No matter the fuckery.
This idea that the body is either male or female. I'm sitting down.
The illogical.
She doesn't like the Trump sign.
The meaningful.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
And the sane.
That the true strength of our nation comes not from the might of our arms or the scale of our wealth, but from the enduring power of our ideals.
What the hell happened? Division, maybe. We've never been more divided as a country, so they say. I'm speaking to Americans and those who suck the teat from the cummies of American media. I've grown a special curiosity of the origins of social justice. I don't have any invested interest other than a modest horror at its bastardization and a martini's garnish of outrage. But that's neither here nor there. Social justice is broadly defined as the quest for fairness in society in all its perceivable forms, and the demanded justice in question is derived from righting the wrongs of the past to the agreeable stipulations of individuals and suffering progeny of the present, and the pursuit of equanimity and equality, be it in opportunity, status, or outcome, depending on your psychopathologies. You can be impossibly optimistic in the belief of equality of opportunity, though the phrase crumbles at the contradiction of reality and its seductions. You can be Soviet as fuck in the belief that status and stature of the individual, regardless of economic input or game theoretic prospering of the individual, should be equalized at the expense of the group. Outcome. The quality of outcome. The end result. May your endeavors match mine in return, no matter what. Social justice is broad and thus opaque. What does it actually mean? And where is the end goal? We see it happening now. We see the people championing it. We see SJWs. We see mainstream media. We see ARM. We see the poor folk who have no opinions and wonder what the fuck are these people on about.
Social justice, many politicians suggest, is a way to improve equality in the society.
The issues that a lot of minority communities have, as well as a lot of majority communities. We're in a movement for justice. We've moved from civil rights to social justice, but it's the same movement.
All right, okay. Explains a lot. I still don't get it.
It is our duty from a different background, so I needed to adjust to mine, so I can be equal with everyone else.
I guess activism was like my way to connect back to my identity.
All right, now hold up. In 2019, going on 2020, it's simply a movement, right? Nothing's changed. I mean, couldn't have descended too far.
The idea that oppressed peoples have the right to not only be recognized for their gastronomic contributions, but they have the right to their inherent value, to derive from them uplift and empowerment.
Yet there are people crowding around and shouting quotes and captions that sound like righteous hype speech of circle-jerking Vegas underdogs, betting on tourneys they've already rang the bell on years ago. These first principles may have claws, though you wouldn't be able to tell through the shrieks. Like cinema. Only a screenwriter can write bullshit like that. Not even the drama of it. Who says such things? Who speaks like that in this day and age? I mean, okay, if I'm on a first date, do I sit down with the person, look at who they are and what their color is, and then gesture insane questions like, how much privilege do you have to the point where you'll pay for my bill? Or if I'm interviewing for a meaningless desk job, that I'm underqualified for because I don't have 5 years experience, because I've spent the last 5 years of my adult life in school in bouts of depressional procrastination. What do I tell the fucker in the corner office who keeps forgetting my name and asks me the same questions I found on Glassdoor? Do I tell that person I must break my chains and the oppression due to this privileged society in which I'm in a minority of? No. No one speaks like this, honestly, truthfully, and historically speaking. It's kind of alien, isn't it? Considering our fucked up history. What is this? Escalating tension in trade, cyber warfare, political manipulation, yada yada. I'm on Instagram looking at booty and fight compilations because this shit is goddamn boring.
Of every American, to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow. Demoralization, it takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students. Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans. Exposure to true information does not matter anymore.
Wait, okay. All right, that sounds familiar.
So, we believe in what we do, we believe in what we say, and that is the only way to define the truth. The truth is the matter of belief. And that is not only our position, because when I Western media, I ask myself how the people could lie in such way. They lie about everything in the world. After that, I say to myself, stop. That is not lie. It is their truth. They are completely convinced. It's always interpretation. There is no such things as a fact. Says lie, I would respond. Russia says truth. That this truth is absolute
I
truth.
get it. Russia versus America, with a bit of Chinese takeout on the side. We no longer think and act as individuals here in America, but as a group. But this is social justice. Is it subversion?
False. The United States is in a state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you.
Communism failed due to individuality and human nature with relation to power acquisition and just straight up fuckery. Snitches, bitches, and cunts rule when communism reigns. 100 million state murders later, and we still think it's a worthwhile endeavor to forego property rights and accept an unmerited economy with regulations shat from flat, fat, and sedentary government asses. All the while, in the past, they've been drug out to gulags and shot in the back of the head. Who are they? Socialism fails due to the inevitable slide to who is entitled to what. And why the fuck should we do anything in the first place if my needs are satiated? And please forgive what that line of reasoning leads to when it comes to where I'm from, the potential privileges I might have, the potential oppressors that might be over me, and what I'm owed. Thieves, liars, and chicken littles rule when socialism reigns. Millions of proxy murders later, and we still think it's a worthy endeavor. Capitalism fails due to the freedom of the two previously mentioned assholes to run amok with wages, time, and unluck of the bottom majority, and to bet and barter with debt and credit simoleons in the game we pretend to play unironically. The 7 deadly sins combine and manifest in a mecha douche. Evil, indolent, aristocratic, reptilian, I don't have a word for it, whatever. That fails at ruling when capitalism reigns over its corporate subjects and they pay their jizya. Millions of anti-capitalists die or have died in distant countries, but just anyone who's not American or not in the West. And our wars have flattened perceived terroristic threats seas over. And it's a worthy endeavor our country endures because I've got a Big Mac and a Honda and I'm on my way to work. We've now barely and without education established that our political philosophies and our governance are not just flawed and functional, but broken and laughable. American capitalism only works with reactionary cowardice and the hidden socialism underneath it all. I mean, you got your roads, you got your welfare, you got your property taxes, which actually means you don't own your commercial establishment, which means you don't ultimately own the means of your production, do you? Because the government can just come by and take it away when you haven't paid your property taxes. That was a shitty riff. Fuck. Dear viewer, who are we? Odds are, you and I are not the same outliers of our society. The absurdly rich and the deeply connected and the powerful and the political. We play our video games and we watch Netflix, and we do all this as we gripe the extremities of modern life and E&J luxury through a phone screen and an increasing sense of, hey, I'm not doing shit with my life. And that is roughly our entertainment, and that's roughly what keeps us going. And there's this putrid mango, Trump. It's a joke. It's a tragedy. It's a coup. It's a renaissance. It's everything they say it is, but not. What the fuck is this? Who the fuck is this? Americans were so entrenched in media, reality TV, and the content of internet performers and liars, and the endless feed at their fingertips, that we decided to believe. Believe what we see on both sides, and on one side. On and on, those who tell us what's what. Harped on the existence of evidence implicating President Trump in Russian collusion that absolutely happened in 2016 elections. After the Mueller investigations, the wrongness turned to tears and segues, and they were proven wrong. Then they found other things, ridiculous things. But that is the US of A's 45th president, and honestly, that's American. May not be presidential, but it is American, and that's Trump, not Russian. MSM are right. There was Russian collusion, but it's not obvious, and it wasn't during 2016 or the year or so of campaigning leading up to the presidential debates. Russia quite possibly cemented the Trump election. Russian influence and interference may have elected Trump, but not in 2016. We live in interesting times. We do. We believe. We believe in taglines and absolutes. We believe in what we read so easily accessible. We believe in search engine optimization. We believe in the ads we wait 5 seconds to skip. We believe in the spam mail and the robocalls we're bombarded with. We've fallen prey to marketing minds and the Illuminati. Just kidding. Flashy words and phrases capture our attention and sculpt our beliefs. It's easier. It's easier that way. It's easier to identify. It has to be. There's too much excess and too much contradiction and too many facts that our time and attention battle over. It's hard to sift through it all. It's easier to claim a team, a group, a fuckery crowd that claims they've already sifted through it all. Now we're libtards, alt-righters, Nazis, centrists, religious, atheists, yada yada yada, I'll come up with more later. Or whatever title or gender or species or character you wish to identify with. America is an RPG with the game's difficulty set to easy. and the character creation screen stuck on hard. Its visible options and sliders are limited until you purchase the season pass and roll the loot boxes. Except the in-game currency is unattainable because we're all broke as fuck.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America.